Today's class is going to be a little different than my usual class. As many of you know, I am recovering from surgery. So this is from surgery. So my first class back teaching. And why I decided to teach a little early is that what I found, and I know that many people find this when you're recovering, that all my old aches and pains have returned from lying around and not doing my yoga and not doing as much walking and Pilates and things like that. So I noticed that I all of a sudden was stiff and had a sore back and all the old things that come up when you are not moving in your usual way. And yoga can help with those. And so this class is going to be a way of hopefully showing all of you and taking good care of me at the same time, ways that you can use yoga when you're not at your best and when you can only do limited postures, and yet to see how good that can feel and what a difference that can make for you. Because I think oftentimes we think, well, I can't do yoga if I'm not 100%, or I can't do yoga if I'm recovering. And yoga is actually the perfect thing to do, because the breath and the stretching and the movement can be really helpful in healing and recovery, as long as you are kind. So the theme of this class is kindness, and kindness to yourself. And so I would ask each of you along the way to figure out what is kind. And if you find that you want to do more stretching or make the pose a little bit different than what I'm doing, because that would feel better to you, feel free. And I'm going to adapt along the way to do things that my body can do today. So find yourself a comfortable seat. If you have a block or a bolster, I recommend sitting up atop it. This is very intentional, because when the hips are above the knees, you open up those hip flexors. And most of us have tight hip flexors from driving, sitting, computers, all of those things. And so when you arrive on your mat, giving yourself a chance to drop right in and let yourself arrive, bringing your mind and your body into the same place. And for today, I invite you to make an extra special effort to come into your body, to notice all the things happening there. Doing what we sometimes refer to in mindfulness as a quick body scan, starting at your head and just scanning down through your body, noticing pockets of tightness or tension, and taking in a long, smooth in-breath in through your nose, sending that breath to any place in your body that's calling out for attention or movement. And a long, smooth, even out breath, releasing it, letting it go. And we'll do that once again, breathing in through your nose, sending the breath to every nook and cranny, not just in your lungs this morning, but to every fingertip, every spot in your belly or the backs of your legs, or anywhere in your back that feels tight or is needing attention, needing breath, needing oxygen, needing support and kindness. And exhaling, letting go of any resistance to any pockets there that you might have judgments about that shouldn't hurt or should be better already, breathing it out. Breathing in kindness for exactly where your body is today on its journey of life, all the things that it can do, taking a moment to appreciate the wonder of the human body. And exhaling, letting it go long and smooth. And once again, pause and notice. Do that quick body scan, starting from your closed eyes, if they're closed, and if they're open, just a light loose gaze, coming down through your mouth and your throat and into your chest and down into your belly, into the groin area, down your legs, all the way down to your toes, just noticing any areas of tightness and sending them some kindness. And coming back to the breath, breathing in and out. And notice here for a moment if your hands are on your thighs facing down or facing up. And notice if those hands are even maybe gripping or tight. And with intention, flip them to face up, open, light and loose in the receptive position, just open to whatever comes this morning, whatever is this morning. Open to allowing yourself to be exactly who you are, where you are, and the way you are on this day. Coming back to the breath, in and out. 3 more healing breaths into your nose, sending the breath as a healing, loving, kind agent to every cell, every nook and cranny, every healing cell. And a huge exhale. Not forced, long, smooth, and easy. The breath is one of those things that can optimize your recovery. Breathing deeply. And exhaling long and smooth, not forced, just easy. And noticing if those breaths make you feel better or worse. If they don't feel good, change them so that they do feel good. And we'll bring one hand to heart and the other hand to top, whichever one feels better on that heart space. The palmar surface of the bottom hand right on that heart space, pressing your heel of your hand into your heart space gently. Connecting to the fact that you have a heart and taking a moment to appreciate that wonder of the human heart. Sending that blood flow everywhere. Healing blood flow. We often don't remind ourselves of all the work that the heart does for the body. Sending that blood and cells, oxygenation everywhere, every nook and cranny that needs attention and healing. And whether the healing is physical, emotional, or all of the above, we actually generally overlap to some degree. Sending care to your heart space and then letting your heart space send that care all the way out into every fingertip and toenail, the farthest reaches, and to any tender spots, wherever they might be. And as you breathe in, notice your chest rise and fall. We'll take 3 more breaths here, hand to heart, sending that oxytocin around, lessening the cortisol, helping you heal in that way, very directly, physiologically. And focusing your attention on the wonder of the human body and its capacity to do amazing things, including heal, including recover. Notice if you have any judgments about things in your body that don't work as well or that are not as functional as they used to be. And appreciating with wonder all the things that work, all the things that are helpful, and all the ways perhaps that you're better than yesterday or last week or a few weeks ago, the way that things shift. Coming back to your breath. And exhaling, letting it out. Once again, with intention, inhaling that kindness, healing, patience. And exhaling any urgency, any judgment, striving to be somewhere that you're not yet. Or be somewhere that you used to be that you aren't today. And with this last breath, breathe in whatever you feel like you need or want, letting your mind aside. And exhaling anything that feels heavy. You may or may not know what it is. Heavy, constricting, making that chest heavy, belly heavy, letting it go with the breath. And then lowering your hands to your thighs, palms up once again. And just take a moment to assess, a moment to scan and notice how you feel. If your eyes are closed, keep them closed for a couple more breaths. Wiggling your fingers lightly, wiggling your toes, letting go of any tension here. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And a pause to check in and notice how you feel. Notice also if the slowness of this morning feels a little uncomfortable or the moving less feels a little uncomfortable. As we move through, when we do more yin and restorative, they're incredibly powerful tools, and yet They're very uncomfortable for those of us that are used to moving through the world fast. The discomfort is part of the experience, and it's actually part of the healing and the recovery. And so as you notice that, just breathe into it, remembering that the rest is productive. The slow healing is complete healing. It's full healing. It's nourishing and kind healing. One more long, smooth breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And take a moment before you open your eyes to notice how you feel now. Notice if anything has shifted, if you feel lighter. Doing that scan once again and sending love and kindness to any area of your body that's still tender, that's sending you a message. I often think of pain as a message. It might be a message to do less. It might be a message to send breath and kindness. Just listening to those body messages. When we move slow, we can listen. We can hear. When you're ready, you can open your eyes, coming back into our Zoom space. And I'm going to take out the bolster and come into what I call double pigeon to release your hips. Some of you may just wish to stay atop your bolster, and you're welcome to do that, or to come to the floor and draw your knees a little bit farther forward. So as you arrive on the floor, move the flesh of your seat out of the way so you have a nice, deep groundedness, stable connection to the earth. And you're going to draw your knees a little bit closer together than they were in the cross-legged position. I like to look at my knees and my shoulders, and they're close to the same width. Today, take your right hand and you'll grab your left ankle, picking up that left ankle and placing it atop the right knee if that's accessible to you. Coming into what we call seated double pigeon. And if this hurts your knees or it's too much, you can leave that left ankle on the floor and walk your hands forward. I can't do that today. So I actually love this position with the ankle atop the knee, sitting up nice and tall. You're barely folding forward. You're tilting your pelvic bowl forward towards the front of your mat. Noticing the pubic symphysis is facing forward like a flashlight. Your chest is shifted forward. Your spine, each vertebrae is aligned one atop the other, all the way through the neck, through the post-cervicular bones, all the way through the crown of your head, reaching tall, tall, tall. Your hands can rest lightly on your foot and your knee. Taking in a breath and sitting up even taller, pouring that breath down into both hips. And exhale, let it out, breathing out the tension and the tightness. Breathing in with kindness. We carry a lot of emotion and tension and old stuff in the hips. With intention, sending the breath right into those hips. So this pose is often considered a yin pose, and it's one that I actually will do in the middle of a day where I've been coaching and sitting in a chair. I will sit on the floor and do this for a few minutes, and you'll notice a huge shift. And so these yin poses, we hold for about 10 breaths, and we notice what's happening. And you'll notice a nervous system shift, a shift in the fascia, which is what yin is particularly designed to address. So we don't think of it as overstretching. We're actually settling, sitting, breathing, noticing. And in my case, enjoying this hip release is tension-filled, but also provides a lot of relief and release. And so noticing for you how it feels. For anyone whose ankle is not atop, if you want to move your hands forward a little smidge forward, bringing your forearms kind of towards the floor with your palms open, you can do that. Breathing in through your nose once again, pouring that breath all the way down into any areas that are recovering. So in my case, pouring them into the belly and the lower pelvic area. Just send that breath and envision the breath going into every nook and cranny, finding any stitch, any pocket of old inflammation, pocket of scar tissue that you might have, anything that's there, anywhere. Envision the breath going there and healing. And on the exhale, letting go of the tightness, the tension, the old stuff. Not forcing it, just letting it float away. With each inhale, sit up a teensy bit taller and you'll notice a little more release in the hip, particularly on this side, the left hip. And you can slide your feet to where it feels comfortable. Some of you may want to even, you can cross your knees. Okay, I can't do this one either, but knee atop knee and be drawing your ankles towards you if your hips are really loose. Choose what feels the most healing and helpful today without judgment. We'll take one more breath here, allowing yourself to settle in for this last breath wherever it needs to go, and a long, smooth exhale. And we'll slowly, kindly untangle. You may notice your knees are stiff, your hips are stiff. Stretch your legs out long in front, and you'll take your hands and move that flesh of the seat out of the way with kindness and without judgment. Engage your belly with kindness and reach your arms up towards the sky. Reach your toes back towards your knees and gently exhale and fold forward a tiny bit. And notice today, usually I fold forward a lot. Today I won't be. And you can still get tremendous release and help from just a tiny fold forward. You can decide if you want to round your back forward or hinge at the hips and have a flat back. Just notice what feels good to you. Draw your attention to your ischial spines. Make sure they're connected into the earth. Flex your ankles and flex your toes. Spread your toes wide, 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 and draw them towards your knees as you can. Your hands will be on your shins or your thighs or your ankles, depending on your flexibility. And relax your toes. Point your toes. And flex your ankles, toes come back towards your knees. And just notice all these tiny shifts, subtle movements, significant shifts in the back of the legs. Spread your toes wide once again. Just notice what happens and relax them. Relax your belly and your hands, and you'll slowly slide up, crossing your legs once again in the opposite cross. So this time the right ankle is going to be in front and land atop the left knee. You'll bring your knees once again, draw them closer together than the usual cross-legged position. Take a minute to move the flesh of your seat out of the way. And in yin and restorative, it's more important to get the position right than to get into it quickly. Left hand's going to grab the right ankle and you will pick it up and place it atop the left knee if you can. If that doesn't work for your knees, leave it on the floor. Walk your hands forward. You can tense your fingers, that can work. And some of you will be able to walk farther forward. Some of you may want to draw your knees across into what we call cow face pose if you don't feel as stretched doing the other. So notice what feels good for you on this side. And it may very well be something different than on the other side. And that's what I'm finding today. So I also like to think of this yin healing recovery yoga as like a research project or an experiment. You're seeing what you can do and seeing what feels good today, which might be completely different than what felt good yesterday. And it might be completely different on this side than on the other side. Drawing your attention to your pelvic bowl, tilt it forward. The pubic symphysis is going to shine forward like a flashlight. Engage that belly, stack each vertebrae one atop the other, all the way through the crown of your head, sitting tall. Drinking in that breath in through your nose, if that works for you. If you have a cold, you can breathe in through your mouth. And exhaling long and smooth. Using the breath as a tool to bathe every cell with healing energy, kindness. Healing is a lot about mindfulness, kindness, noticing, accepting without judging, non-striving, gratitude. These are all components of mindfulness that are very helpful in healing. And so thinking about where you draw your attention. Are you drawing your attention to the pain and all the things you can't do, or you're drawing your attention to what's working, or the wonder of the human body and its ability to heal. So noticing where you draw your attention, and perhaps even setting an intention. My intention for today in this class is kindness and acceptance. The kindness meaning feeling good. And so taking a moment to set your intention perhaps for today. What would feel good? Do you want to bathe yourself with kindness, compassion, forgiveness? Maybe you want to bring in strength, ease, letting go, choosing what feels right to you. Once again, drink that breath in down through your nose, down through your chest, all the way into the hips as you sit up a wee bit taller on the inhale. And exhale, let it out long and smooth. Enjoy the release, the tension, the tightness, and the letting go all at the same time. 2 more breaths here. Noticing that the longer you stay, there's different shifts happening. Readjusting if you need. That's part of the yin, gentle, slow yoga. Many of us feel like we're doing nothing, and yet the longer you stay in these postures, lots of shifts are happening. And the ultimate shifts are often really quite tremendous and transformative. So being patient to see what comes of a different kind of practice. Last breath here, enjoy it fully. And exhale long and smooth, let it out. And we'll untangle our legs here. And for those of you that have a bolster, you can grab it here. You're going to extend your legs long. You can use pillows if you have those. And some of you will be able to balance blocks on your knees if you don't have a bolster. So you take your bolster and you'll put it essentially along your legs. Your legs will be extended long in a forward fold. And you're going to slide your hands just down over the bolster. You're essentially creating space for your belly to be protected. And you're going to drop your head and come into a yin forward fold where you're supported. If you happen to have 2 bolsters, you can do that. Most of us don't. So then you grab a block or a pillow and you can place your forehead, your third eye right on the block. So you have that release in the back. And you'll pause here. Noticing where you want to slide forward a little bit more. You can even put your chin on the block. Don't overdo it, but allow yourself to relax and sink in. And notice what's happening in the backs of the legs and the lower back. Wiggling your toes, not holding anything too firmly, no grasping, as we say. Many of us move through the world grasping, holding on to things. So notice if you are grasping your block, grasping your bolster, and send the breath into the fingers and the toes, letting them wiggle and release. And if it's available, have a little more stretch if it feels good. Noticing the energy shifting in the back of the legs. When we shift that energy, if you're tired, you often get more energy. You may want to even shift from one hip to the other, have a little rock, notice what happens. And if it would feel good, wiggle your fingers a little farther forward. Sending love and appreciation and wonder to all of those muscle fibers in the back of the legs and all the things that they do. Wiggling your toes, flexing your ankles towards the bolster, hugging in the bolster with the tops of your feet. Notice that slight shift, what happens. And point your toes all the way towards the front of the mat and enjoy. Enjoy the shins, enjoy those sensations in different spots in your legs. When we move slowly, we notice different things. See if you want to wiggle your hands a little farther forward. And adjust your forehead or your chin, whatever feels good. Make sure you're comfortable. Huge breath into the base of the lowest ribs. In this position, your ribs are flared open into those 11th and 12th rib pockets in the very lateral corners of your lungs, bathing them with breath. We often hold our breath, and that inhibits our healing and recovery as we move through the world without taking time to breathe fully and nourish ourselves. So notice here where your body needs nourishment. 2 more breaths, moving forward a little bit more, only if it feels good. Nothing in this class should hurt. If it hurts, undo it. Sometimes the stretching makes things wake up, but doesn't really hurt. And so take a moment to notice, does it hurt or is it stretching and does it feel good? And if you need to, back off. One of the other tenets of mindfulness is non-striving, and we actually use that in yoga. Many people come to yoga and want to do crow pose and headstand and handstand, but non-striving is the intention. It's not the goal-driven activity. And from that space, we actually accomplish much, much more. Gently sliding up your bolster, releasing the block, putting it down to the side, and you'll open your legs wide, and you can bring the bolster in between your legs. So you're going to be in a wide angle pose. The bolster is going to be in front, and we're going to slide down onto the bolster. If the bolster is too far away, use another pillow, sorry. Or you can take your 2 blocks, if you happen to have them, and lie them under the bolster to lift it up closer to you. And find just that spot where you can rest your forearms and lower your forehead. And you'll notice a total different shift in the back of the legs here at the, this is a wide angle forward fold. And once again in yin, we're gonna hold it for 10 to 12 breaths. Wiggling your toes, releasing the tightness and the tension, and notice what feels good for you. If this doesn't feel good, sit up a little bit taller. Don't overdo it. I noticed that I could do this yesterday, and I can't do very much today. So with intention, letting go of any judgment that comes from that, readjust and find the spot that feels good. Even sitting almost completely upright, the legs and inner thighs will have some attention. Notice your toes here. Wiggle the toes, point your toes, flex your toes, and spread your toes wide, 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 noticing what's happening in the backs of the legs. Breathing in and out. Long, smooth inhales. With the breath, match the inhale and the exhale. Equal depth, equal effort, equal flow. It's a very healing way to breathe. Making sure you're using more of your lung volume. In our usual breathing, we use about 30% of our lung volume. See if you can use more like 60. You don't have to overdo it. Have it feel good. We'll be here about 3 more breaths. Adjusting in whatever way you need. Perhaps you need to sit farther upright. If you want to bring your fists behind your hips and pick them up and stretch your legs a little wider, notice how that feels. You can puff your chest forward if the fold forward doesn't feel good in this position. Trying different things. Adjusting and accommodating without judgment. For anyone who's sitting more upright here, notice the pelvic bowl, notice the ischial spines, and even try to circle your ankles in one direction and the other. Notice what happens. Last breath, wherever you are. A long, smooth exhale, release. And pause and notice how you feel already. Likely a big shift in your nervous system and lots of things with kindness. And we'll move the bolster and the blocks out of the way. You can keep them nearby if you want. And you will bring the soles of our feet together, coming into a butterfly pose, not a too tight one. And again, we don't overdo anything. Hands will come to your ankles, soles of the feet are together. Find those ischial spines and connect them into the earth. Have a little rock and just notice the connection to the earth and the stability of the earth underneath holding you. Tilt that pelvic bowl forward and align your spine, one vertebrae atop the other, reaching towards the crown of the head, and just notice how you feel. Breathing in and out. Anybody wants to fold forward, it might feel good. Releasing your upper back here, particularly dropping your head towards your toes. Just letting it release in whatever spot feels good. Notice the back open up, any tightness there. Send the breath into the pockets of tightness. You can move one shoulder forward and then the other, noticing how that feels. We'll slowly release our hands, coming back up to a seat. You can draw your knees together and you'll slide your knees around behind you, coming to hands and knees for a moment. We're actually going to come into child's pose here. So your knees will be apart, toes will be together. If anyone wants to do a supported child's pose, you can grab your bolster and put it underneath you. You'll sink your hips back towards your heels and your gaze will go towards one side or the other. You can also do a not supported child's pose. Neither is better or worse. I would actually encourage you to try out both and see what feels good to your hips. And wiggle your fingers as far forward as you can, finding that stretch in the armpits, in the upper arms, wiggling your fingers a little farther forward, enjoying the stretch. Third eye can connect into the earth and sink your hips back down and low. We're going to take about 10 breaths here, breathing in long and smooth. Exhale, let it out. Noticing as you breathe what shifts. And once again, draw your attention to fingers and toes. Make sure you're not grasping or gripping, which is our tendency. And with intention, soften, release, relax. Spread your fingers wide. Palms flat on the mat. And if it would feel good, walk your hands to the left. The left hand's going to come to the left front edge of the mat. Right hand will come atop the left hand and breathe into the right side body, enjoying it. And adjusting if anything is squished, anything hurts. If you have trouble lowering your hips towards your heels, place a bolster there or a pillow. Child's pose should be a release, not uncomfortable. Pour the breath into every tiny alveoli in the right side of the lungs. Remembering that the breath is healing. And using your full lung capacity is healing. Healing for the body in general. When it has more oxygen, it works less hard. Wiggling your hands, if they're on the left side, all the way to the right side. Right hand on the front right corner of the mat. Left hand will be atop the right hand. And you'll breathe into every nook and cranny of the left one feels. And notice your third eye or your forehead, connecting it into the earth so you feel stable, grounded, centered, settled, rooted, whatever word feels right to you. Perhaps safe, still. Notice the breath and breathe with intention here, long and smooth. Pouring that breath once again into pockets that are tender, pockets that are healing. With kindness, pouring that healing oxygen, breath, nourishment into those cells. Tenderly and kindly, not forcing them. But visualizing them being cared for. Visualize them healing. Walking your hands back towards the center.
And one breath back in the center for anyone who's been moving around. And slowly, in the yin and restorative, we tend to move incredibly slowly, coming back to hands and knees. And just take a moment and notice how you feel. We're going to walk our hands forward and curl your toes and come up into downward dog. A downward dog that feels good. So notice if you want to have your feet together or your feet apart. A lot of the work in yin and restorative is noticing. In healing and recovery, yoga is all about noticing. So taking a moment here to do these little adjustments, figure out what feels good to you. Notice the calves, the back of your legs. Does walking the dog feel good? Notice your hands, and if your wrists are tender, spreading your fingers wide and flattening your palms into the earth. Downward dog is also a hip stretch. A spine stretch, which is why it feels so good if you have a sore back. And to increase the spine stretch, you'll press your hands into the earth, straighten your elbows, the humeral heads will go into the shoulder sockets, and shift your hips up and back, dropping your head towards the floor. Not overdoing it, more is not better. Notice how it feels. And notice if you want to walk your feet a little bit farther, closer towards your fingers or farther away. Notice what feels better for you. Lifting up onto tiptoes and see if that feels good. Notice the blood flow going to every little muscle fiber in the backs of the legs. Huge inhale. And exhale, lower your heels towards the earth. Notice how that feels. Once again, these tiny little shifts. Great big shifts in energy. And release. Come back to the breath. Pour the breath everywhere. Even upside down. You can shake your head yes and no if that feels good. And we'll walk our hands slowly towards your feet, coming into a forward fold. And for anyone who's actually healing and recovering, like me, grab those blocks for the forward fold because it feels better. And if anyone else just wants to try it and you have blocks, you'll put your hands on the blocks so you won't be folded forward quite as much. You can bend your elbows and release your head and neck to whatever spot feels good. For everyone, it's going to be different. And for anyone with high blood pressure, it's actually better to keep your head up a little bit. So untreated high blood pressure. So try that. And I would lift your toes, all 10 of them, spread them wide. Notice how that feels. And lower down. And in whatever position you are, lower down a little bit more to get that release in your back. The lower back, protecting your belly and your tender flats. You may need to widen your feet. In my case, a lot today. And let your head and neck release so your back gets a little bit of that release. Playing with it a little bit. Bend one knee and then the other. Find a spot that feels good and sink in. Huge breaths here, upside down. One of the reasons we do inversions in yoga is to shift perspective with intention. If anyone also wants to try this, you can stack your blocks and place your forehead on the block, coming into a supported forward fold. It feels really delicious. You need to stack the blocks at the right height. If you don't have blocks here, you can actually also use a chair or a coffee table, or make a note and try it next time. When your third eye is connected to the blocks, the legs have a different release. Enjoy it. And if you're not enjoying it, something doesn't feel good, readjust. 2 more breaths here. Then we'll slowly come out. So if you have the blocks under your head, unstack them. Pause with a flat back. Bend your knees. And then you come up in whatever way feels good to you. May not be the way you usually come up. For some of you, it will be that roll where you unroll your spine, hands hang down, vertebrae by vertebrae. Others will come up with a more flat back. Just do what works. Healing and recovery is about figuring out what works. And as you arrive, let that blood flow shift and enjoy it. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Huge breath here. And we'll shrug our shoulders all the way up to our ears. Drop your occiput into the shoulders. Tight, 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 tight. You can have your feet wherever they feel good. As tight as you can, squeezing tight, tight, tight. Exhale, release, and notice how good it feels. Palms open towards the front. Tadasana or mountain pose. And in this Tadasana, I often say engage everything. Today, I invite you to just stand in a way that feels good. You don't have to engage everything. You can wiggle fingers and toes. Engage what you need to stand comfortably. Might be different. Use the breath, pouring it into every nook and cranny. Let gravity send it downward visually. Notice the soles of your feet on the earth, rooting them downward, sending those roots down. And today I invite you to envision your roots like the redwood tree roots. The redwoods actually send their roots down only about a foot and out towards all the other people, letting the other, well, they send them to the other trees. They let everyone else's roots help support them. And when you're healing and recovering, we very often need other people's support, which is uncomfortable for many of us. So envisioning yourself as a redwood tree, sending those roots out as wide as a football field, across all the people here in this Zoom space, and across all your friends, family, colleagues, taking a moment to appreciate all the support that you do have. Embracing it, letting it in, and breathing at the same time. Make sure you're not holding your breath. And we'll open our eyes, coming back into the room if they're closed. We're going to bring our hands to heart center, palms together. Bring your thumbs into your sternum. Finger pads are reaching towards the sky. We're going to come into what I call an easy tree pose. In that, for some of you, you'll just have your heel to the shin, right heel to the left shin. This might be your whole tree pose. You'll tuck your right knee back. For anyone who wants to try the next step, you can slide the sole of your foot up to your calf. Today, I encourage you not to go all the way up. There's a lot of benefit that comes from this smaller version of a tree. There are a lot of trees that are small and aren't these huge trees with branches rooting everywhere. So envisioning yourself as one of those trees. Draw that right knee back, engaging your glutes. Left hip is gonna hold you steady. And notice the sole of the left foot, using your toes for balance, keeping your eyes open, and pressing your thumbs into your sternum for balance. Again, the point here is not to overdo it, not to strive, not to do as much. In fact, make it the smallest expression of a tree, but a stable tree. And noticing what engages when you do this. It's very different. I'll just hold it for one more breath. You need to slide your toes back to the floor, do that. Draw that right knee back a little, using your glutes for strength, supporting yourself well. And you'll bring your right knee forward, lowering your foot. And we'll switch to the other side. If you happen to do the other side, doesn't matter. Come back to the hands, palms together, skin to skin, rubbing it together, enjoying that sensation, noticing that feels good. Bring your thumbs back to your sternum and pressing them in firmly for balance to support yourself well. Lift up onto your tippy toes for a moment and lower the soles of your feet down. Lift up all 10 toes, spread them wide like those redwood roots, sending them down and out towards all of your supports in the world. And bring that left heel to the right calf. If you want to slide the sole of the foot up, do that. Notice what feels right for you. Might be different than on the other side. Press the thumbs into the sternum firmly and the palms together. Note each finger pat. These tiny little things create huge shifts in the body.
Left knee is going to tuck back an inch or so, or a centimeter if that's what you've got. Noticing your hips and your glutes. Noticing the sole of that right foot and the toes. Kids use the soles of their feet and their fingers to learn to walk. Noticing every single toe and how it's helping you here. Noticing the sole of your foot, the arch of your foot, the heel of your foot. And noticing the breath. Are you holding your breath? Come back to the breath. Trees actually breathe. So breathe like a tree. We share breaths with the tree when we're in nature. Envisioning that here as you hold yourself steady and strong. Lower your foot down to the earth, the toes, heels still on the calf. Coming into this, what I would call a tiny tree. And enjoy it for a moment, noticing the different muscles that need to be called in here. Different than you usually do. You're a usual yoga practicer. Draw that left knee forward and lower it down. Checking anything out that you need, perhaps rolling your shoulders back 3 times. And forward 3 times. And if it would feel good, lifting up onto your tiptoes. Making sure not to over-engage things in your belly. I often cue you to engage your belly here, but if your belly is sore like mine, then don't engage it. You can use your legs, you can use other things. This lifting up to the toes is in honor of Mi Chang, who many of you know. She keeps telling me to do my lift up on my toes. It prevents pulmonary emboli post-op. So you can lift up and lower your heels a couple times and just notice how good that feels. Doesn't have to be hard. And as you land flat on the earth, lift your toes up once again, lower them down like roots, sending them outward to support you well. Having your feet comfortable here, for most of you, you'll shift them to hips width, and you'll reach your arms out to the side. Palms are gonna face front. Pressing your fingers into the side walls. Pinch your scapula and notice how good that feels. Exhale, release. Once again, pinch the scapula and do what you need here with your belly. I usually cue engaging your belly. So if your belly's fine, do engage it. It feels better that way. But if you can't, remember, healing and recovery, you do whatever you need. Relax your scapula. We're gonna wrap our arms in front, coming into eagle arms, to release all that tension between the scapula. Your right elbow is going to come below your left. Palms will face towards the back wall, and you'll bring your hands together in whatever way works for you at this moment. You may grab your thumbs, your palms may come together. Inhale and lift your elbows to shoulder height. Pause here. Inhale and breathe into every tight spot between the scapula. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift up an inch. And exhale, lower an inch. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, lower to shoulder height. And we'll lift up an inch. If anybody wants to, you can bring your elbows down towards your belly and round, or do a partial version where you drop your head and neck. Notice what feels good. If that doesn't feel good, keep your elbows at shoulder height and you press your elbows in opposite directions, and that may feel delightful. Again, noticing, taking a moment to see what your body prefers. Don't forget to breathe wherever you are. If you're pressing your elbows in opposite directions, release them. We'll untangle the arms, stretch them wide. Fingertips reach towards the sky. Palms will reach towards the side walls. Pressing the palms into the side walls, engaging your arms. Dropping your fingertips towards the floor. Raising your fingertips towards the sky. Gaze towards those left fingers slowly, noticing your neck. Move gently when we bring in the neck. Gaze comes back to center. Wiggle the fingers. Gaze towards the right fingers as they reach towards the sky. Notice your neck. Come back to center. Drop your chin to chest. And send your breath into all those tight neck muscles that haven't gotten too much attention here. Coming back to center. And you'll lower your hands Shaking your fingers out, shove your shoulders up to your ears and drop them, palms open towards the front. Enjoy the release all the way down the arms into your fingers, wiggling the fingers. Huge inhale, bringing your arms back out to the sides, wrapping them in the opposite direction. Left elbow under right, coming into eagle arms here. Palms face the back wall, thumbs, palms come together, whatever you've got. Elbows to shoulder height. Inhale, lift up an inch, and exhale, lower. Move here in the way that your shoulders need the release. Breathing, not holding your breath. If you wish to fold forward, release in that way, try that. See what feels best on this side. And or leave your elbows at shoulder height and press your elbows in opposite directions, tension. Notice the tension and how good the tension can feel. Don't forget to breathe. Use the breath to heal. Sending kindness into every tight muscle, taking a moment to thank it for all that it does to move you through the day, the children it carries, the work that it does if you're a surgeon, or you do procedures, the groceries it carries, the hugs that those shoulders give, and the tension and all that they carry everywhere that you go. Huge breath in and out. Untangle your arms, stretch them wide, press them into the side walls, and we'll lower them down. Wiggle your fingers, shrug your shoulders up, and drop them, release and enjoy. Inhaling your arms out and up, once again, reaching them towards the sky. Right thumb and middle finger will grab the left wrist, stretch tall. If that doesn't work, which apparently it doesn't for me today, interlace your fingers and reach them towards the sky. You'll have a little more belly support. Notice what works for you. Inhale, stretch tall, and exhale, tip gently to the right. Only what feels good. Lengthen from the top of the left hip, through the left palm, through the left fingers. It's not a matter of stretching far, it's a matter of stretching tall and a little bit to the right. Notice that whole left side body, from the left sole of the foot, all the way through the left line, through the left hips, through the armpit, through your fingers, enjoying it. Exhale, come back to center. Drop your shoulders, inhale, reach tall. And exhale, tip to the left. The right side body is going to open up here and enjoy it. Breathing in and enjoying. One more big breath. Come back to center and opening your arms out, lowering them down. And pause and notice if your shoulders are cranky, your fingers, notice what feels good, what doesn't. Another shrug up, enjoying it. Drop your occiput deep into those shoulders, pressing, squeezing, lots of tension. Exhale, release, palms open towards the front. Letting your body recalibrate. Enjoying every single cell, all the tingling. Not moving through the Tadasana mountain pose too fast. It's one of the most powerful, healing, strong, confidence-building poses, and we usually whip right through. So taking a moment here, breathing in, noticing your chest rise and fall. And you can open your eyes and slowly lower yourself down. We're going to come all the way down to the floor. You can use your blocks to help you come down. And I would have 2 blocks nearby. And if anyone wants to do supported fish when we do Shavasana in a minute, then keep a bolster nearby too. Or you can also just use blocks for that. I'll show you how to do both. So get to the floor however works for you. And arrive there. And notice if you want to have your knees bent or straight. There isn't a right way to do it. Just notice what feels good. And lying on your back, notice all the sensations. Wiggling fingers and toes.
Bring one knee into your chest or to the side of your belly if you need to do that. Hands will be on the right shin, and you'll spread that left leg, stretch the left leg long, sorry. You'll notice the release in the front of the left hip. And notice if it feels good or not. Breathe. As you breathe in, you'll drop your right hip laterally and hug that knee in. Bring your hands to the back of the right thigh and straighten that right leg towards the sky. Press your heel towards the sky. Press your hand straight into your hand and your toes towards your nose. Point your toe. And flex your toe. Point your toe. And flex your toe. And we'll hug that knee back towards us, hugging it in tight. And just pause here. Let yourself relax with the knee hugged in, the right hip totally released, left leg long. Relaxing into both. You don't have to be engaging both. Just letting things adjust and accommodate. You'll notice as you stop focusing on engaging the legs, something shift in your lower back. Most of you. Send the breath to whatever's calling out, making noise there. Circle that right ankle in both directions. And lower the right foot towards the floor. Right knee will stay bent for a moment. And you'll hug that left knee in towards you. Once again, with kindness and care. So if you need to let the left knee and hip fall super laterally to stay out of the way of the tender belly, do that. And you'll stretch your right leg long, long, long. And notice the right hip flexor. You can point your toe and flex it. Hug that knee in. On the exhale, release it into the hip center. Shift your hands to the back of the left hamstring. Heel reaches towards the sky, toes towards your nose. Enjoy the sensations. Point your toe. Press the hamstrings into your hand. Flex your toes towards your nose, towards your knee. Press the hamstring into your hands. One more point. And flex. And we'll bend the knee, hugging it in and pausing here. Relaxing. Noticing any shifts. And you'll lower that left foot towards the floor. Bending both knees here. We'll bring the soles of our feet together, knees apart, coming into reclining butterfly. So for anyone who needs more support here, take 2 blocks and put one under each knee so that there isn't too much stretching. Less stretching here is often more. And if you need, you may find that your blocks need to be on the middle setting, not the lowest. Notice what feels good. And bring one hand to heart, one hand to belly, checking in. Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclining butterfly, is one of the most restorative poses. So we'll be here for about 10 breaths. Focusing on the breath, focusing on the chest and the belly, rising and falling with each inhale. Letting your body just breathe for itself, not focusing on the breath. And noticing. Sending kindness and gratitude, patience, compassion. These tenets of mindfulness that are super helpful to recovery and healing. Allowing yourself to relax in.
you can stay here for Shavasana. You can bring your hands to the outer edges of your thighs and draw them together and stretch them long, coming into a usual Shavasana. Because this is a healing class, I'm going to offer two other options because I think they're useful to know, and at different times in your life, you will want them. One is to put the bolster under your knees. This is a really simple one, just to relieve some of the pressure on the lower back and the belly. So you'll have your feet up, your knees up, your feet and heels should still touch the floor. That may feel more kind and more healing. Some of you may wish to do supported fish, which is one of my favorite poses to open up the chest and any tightness in the front of the chest for those of us who do a lot of work on computers and driving, etc. And for this, you'll set your blocks up. The top block is going to be on the tall setting. The front block, which is going to hit the bottom of your brow line, the front of it, will be on the lowest setting. You can keep your feet in Supta Baddha Konasana. You can keep your knees on that bolster, which is what I'm going to do. And you'll lower your brow line to the front of the top block. And you'll lower your occiput to the farthest away block. And you'll open your arms out, coming into what we call a supported fish. So some of you will have soles together, knees apart. You can have the blocks under your knees. You can have the bolster. And this is a lovely way to do your Shavasana as well. You'll notice this heart opener feels amazing. You can bring your arms out to a T. You can bring them up into a cactus shape. Notice what your chest enjoys. Notice what feels the best. And when you found it, lots of options here. There isn't a right one. So at this point, just pick one. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as we sink into Shavasana, let go of control of the breath. Let go of control of any of the muscles. Let the earth and the blocks and the bolster and any other props you're using support you. Imagine yourself being cradled, cared for, held, nurtured, and healed as you lie here. Surrendering into what is in this moment. Allowing yourself to be, to heal, and to enjoy. For anyone who wants to stay in Shavasana longer, please do. It's the beauty of Zoom and YouTube yoga. You can hang out in Shavasana as long as you want. For anyone who wants to or needs to come out, slowly and gently begin to deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and your toes, noticing how you feel. For those of you who are in supported fish, roll over to one side and pause. Anyone is lying flat in a traditional Shavasana, taking in an inhale and stretching long and tall. Exhale, release. And we'll all meet on our sides with the knees bent just for a moment. Taking a moment to scan and notice how you feel, how your body feels in this moment. Noticing what feels good. Noticing what feels stronger, nurtured, cared for. And when you're ready, press into your hands and come up to a seat where we began. You can sit up on a bolster if you have one, or a pillow, or a block, whatever you've got, or just sit on the floor if that's easier. Crossing your legs and bringing your hands to your thighs, palms open. Palms open is a receptive, open-hearted, open to possibilities position. And attending to your heart here, considering this idea of being open-hearted, kind, and open to the possibilities of whatever your current journey looks like. Envisioning that light, the golden light, the sunlight, the light of the earth, the optimism and the hope, pouring in through your hands, up from your arms, right into that heart space, filling your heart space with light, hope, kindness, healing, and energy. And from that heart space, sending that light wherever it needs to go, wherever you are healing. Maybe it's your heart that's healing. Maybe it's your chest. Maybe it's the pit in your belly. Maybe it's something physiologic that's actually healing. Sending that healing light and healing energy with intention to wherever in your body it's needed. Maybe it's needed everywhere. You'll send it to every cell and every nook and cranny. Decide where you would like to send. And bring a hand to heart and another hand to top. Sending yourself kindness, compassion, and healing. Sending that heart, kindness, compassion, healing. Bathing yourself in gratitude. Gratitude for joining this morning. And appreciation for all that you can do. And hope and wonder about the human body and all that it can do. And the ways in which it can heal, recover, grow, transform, evolve, all of those things. Thank you all so much for practicing with me today. May you all be loved. May you all be healed. May you all be safe. May you all be healthy. And may you all take fabulous care of yourselves with kindness, generosity, gratitude, and compassion. Namaste.